This is Tiffany, and I'm here with Kevin, and we are going to talk to each other about some of the inspiration behind the pieces that we shared during the Swamp Radio preview in July. But before that, we just want to say how excited we are about being involved in such a creative enterprise in downtown Jacksonville.
Absolutely. Swamp Radio Jacksonville is, for me at least, I am giddy with excitement. This is, we did a preview back in July and it was so well received.
It really was. I was really thrilled with the size of the audience and how excited and engaged they were and what we were doing. And I think what's really unique about it is the way it brings together so many different kinds of art. Usually you go see a show and you're with musicians, or, you go to a theater show. But bringing writers together with musicians, with actors, I just love the synthesis of having all those people in the same room and knowing what incredible talent we have in this town. And so I'm going to start by asking Kevin what it's like for him, because he is usually an actor. You usually interpret the work of other writers. And what was the difference between that experience and, telling your own story?
It was absolutely terrifying. When I originally wrote this piece, it was really just for myself. It was a much longer piece, and it was, therapeutic for me to write down these memories, and it existed in another form. And Ian was aware of the piece, and as we were preparing for the preview, he approached me about adapting it into a monologue.
And we know when Ian approaches you, you just do what you're told.
You do as you're told.
Yes, you do.
And it seemed a simple task at first, but as I was working and trying to adapt this piece into a monologue, I went through 15, 20 drafts. It was a much longer piece. I had to cut things that I was truly attached to.
Yeah, as a teacher of writing, I always tell my students, especially my poets, to put their extra lines that they love that don't belong in the poem just over to the side, because that's another story to be told later. So
Absolutely.
Sounds like you have some more stories to tell later.
I'm working on it.
Yeah,
I'm
good.
working on it. Yeah,
well, we're excited because
I've got a million
really enjoyed
stories.
it.
It's just executing them is my.
I can relate. I can relate.
But Tiffany, we've heard some really wonderful poetry from you this evening. Sop choppy. What is a sop choppy?
Well, you wouldn't be the first person who's asked me that. Sop choppy is actually a place, and it is in the Panhandle of Florida. Tiny little town. It's about 45 minutes to an hour west of Tallahassee. And it's in a swampy little classic Florida place. And what I mean by classic Florida is that it's surrounded by scrub palms and lots of dirt roads. And it's got a real air of mystery and beauty to it that I think is true classic Florida. And I'm a 7th generation Floridian, which from what I understand is not often the case. It's pretty rare. And so when I come across a place in Florida that still holds on to that sort of classic Florida feel, that doesn't feel like it's been, for lack of a better way of putting it, Disney-fied or made into this vacation version of what I know Florida to be, and I always feel amazingly connected to it. So when I drove through there to meet a friend, the place really sort of resonated with me. And so it's kind of about the place. It's about Florida. It's about this woman that I speak about. But that is what and where Sop Choppy is.
Well, it was absolutely lovely. But I've got to ask you, God is a goat.
Yes.
God is a goat.
Well, I suppose it depends upon who's writing the poem. For me, the poems, I use God as sort of a metaphorical representation for parenting. and a father-child relationship or a parent-child relationship. And the reason I chose to use that as a metaphor is because when you think about why we create or why, God might have created, you think about the reasons behind that. You can't help but consider that. And for me as a parent, I thought about, what are the reasons why I wanted to become a parent? And part of it is because I wanted a better version, You always want to believe that you can make a world for your child and that you can help your child become a better version of who and what you were in the world. And so it's kind of about that idea of, and I use the goat because I think animal metaphors are really interesting for talking about difficult subject matter, because an animal has so many things in common with us, but they also have these very unique characteristics that you can sort of play to and manipulate through imagery and metaphor to say something about you and me through the guise of the metaphor, and maybe make the pill a little bit easier to swallow. So that's sort of the thought process behind that one.
Very nice.
And, parenting is hard, and it doesn't always turn out the way that we want it to. And that's sort of part of the message of the poem.
Well, I think you chose the perfect pieces for a Swamp Radio project. It was one of those moments when I became engrossed and sort of forgot where I was, even while I was on stage.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
It was really powerful to me. And finally, Summer Rain, the most literal of the titles, but it's can you tell me a little bit about that?
Sure. I use the idea of rain in Florida, especially during the summer, is to sort of stand in for the idea of sort of a pervasive loneliness. The way Florida showers sort of come and go. They're there and then they're gone, and they're there and then they're gone. And that idea that in the summer it's so hot that the land and the trees and sort of everything that's alive is thirsty for that rain. And imagine someone sort of looking out of their window and thinking about the ways in which they're thirsty for something too. Maybe another person to talk to, someone else willing to reach out to them, and maybe not knowing the ways in which to do that. So just looking at some of those emotions through a metaphorical lens and through the lens of imagery to bring them to life in a different way.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Well, Tiffany, I can't tell you how excited I am to work with you again soon. We premiere our inaugural episode in November of Swamp Radio Jacksonville.
I'm excited, and I know that this is going to be a show that people are going to get really excited about, and I think it's something that we've been missing for a long time, which is giving a voice to what's unique and interesting about our community.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I'm excited.
As am I.
All right.
Thank you, Tiffany.
Thank you, Kevin.